It's Evan Rogers, Evan Easy McBreezy, Skeezy McGreasy. We are talking again about nuclear weapons and whether or not they are necessary. This is an NHK Easy article from August the 5th, 2020. And I'm bald. Let's continue. Here we go. Link to that Surly Joking Feynman book below. アメリカが原爆を落としたことについてアメリカ人に聞くと41%がしてはいけないことだと答えました。Alright, let's talk about this. This is America ga, that's subject of a verb. You want to just, we've seen this before, kikuto, right? We have kikuto. Upon asking, when we asked, when somebody asked, whatever the subject of kiku is, the to particle saying when somebody asked, the ni particle tells us who. When somebody asks Americans, ni tsuite, we've seen this before in the previous videos, about koto, about stuff. Koto is a wonderful noun that means stuff. And what it does is it nominalizes the verb before it. It turns what's before it into a noun. It's like adding ing. I eat pizza. I like eating pizza. We can treat it like a noun. Eating pizza is super sexy. That's obviously a stupid sentence, but you can see how she is super sexy. Eating pizza is super sexy, right? Eating pizza becomes a replacement for the word she. And so they're actually operating the same way. They're both nouns. And that's what koto does. So the doing. So we have genbaku o otoshita koto. Maybe we'll translate it as something like, since it's past tense, otoshita, maybe we can say like, that America, sorry, that's the subject, America ga. That America dropped the bomb, right? That America dropped the nuclear bombs, right? Otoshita is the transitive verb. Ochiru, I believe, is the intransitive off the top of my head. So America ga genbaku o otoshita koto. That America dropped the nuclear bombs. Ni tsuite, about the fact that that's actually a good point. Koto is a nominalizer, and so is the no. You could put a no here too. Koto is much more objective. It's much more scientific. It's much more factual. And that's why they went with koto here, because that's why it sounds good to translate it as that. That America dropped the bomb. It turns it into the realm of fact, as opposed to no has sort of a more of a subjective feeling, an opinion feeling to it. America ga genbaku o toshita koto ni tsuite, about the fact that America dropped the bomb, America jin ni kiku to, in context from the previous videos, we know we're talking about the NHK Hiroshima broadcasting company station. When the NHK Hiroshima broadcasting company asked Americans about the fact that America dropped the bomb, 41% ga. So this ga is a subject, the 41% of Americans ga, してはいけないことだと答えました. They answered 41% answered that. Now notice this, that is only the idea of that as in a quotation idea of that. Like she said that I'm ugly, which is accurate. I'm quite hideous. Okay, so they answered that. してはいけないことだ. Okay, so we've seen this koto before, just actually in this exact same sentence. So it just turns into a noun. The pattern is して, te form of suru, してはいけない, verb てはいけない pattern just means, so いけない, it's unbecoming, you shouldn't do that. ては, doing the thing, so しては, they're talking about dropping the bomb. When asked about dropping the bomb, してはいけない, you shouldn't, it was unbecoming, they shouldn't have done it, right? しては, as for doing it, いけない. It's no good. It's no good. いけないことだ. It's that it was unnecessary. Might be a good translation here. They didn't need to do it. They shouldn't have done it. Something like that. They shouldn't have done it. してはいけないことだ. So しては is as for doing it, and then いけない. It's no good. してはいけないことだ. It is a thing that is no good having done it. Very literal translation. It just means they shouldn't have done it. They shouldn't have done it. To kotaemashita. So 41% of Americans asked said they shouldn't have dropped it. Hitsuyou no koto datta. So there's a new sentence. 必要なことだったと答えた 31% より多くなりました。Okay, so 必要なことだった. This is the opposite of してはいけないこと. 必要なことだった. 必要なこと. So we talked about how koto can go after a verb or even here an e adjective. A clause going into koto turns it into a noun. Here we have 必要 as an adjective. It is necessary. Nakoto. It is a necessary thing. Notice how na is operating like da, and how narimashita previously operated like des. So hint, hint, they might be the same thing. Hitsuyou na koto, a necessary thing. A necessary thing data. It was something necessary that had to be done, kind of an idea. To kotaeta, and then the subject of kotaete actually comes after it. What's going on here is they just said that 41% of the people answered that it was unnecessary. And here they're saying 31%, and that's being modified as people who answered that it was important. So this is 31% of the people, which isn't mentioned, 31% of the people that answered that it was necessary. Yori oku narimashita. Yori oku narimashita. Yori is a comparative. So we're comparing above that or more than that. So now the question is, what is more than 31% of the people who answered that it was necessary? And that's the previous sentence. So when we asked them, this is NHK. Well, I guess it is NHK. So when NHK asked them, when we asked them about America's dropping the bomb, 41% of the Americans said it was unnecessary. That is more oku narimashita. That is, again, we talked about how oku naru means, okunata can mean it is more. So that is more than the 31% who answered that it was necessary. It was necessary. So this is actually a tricky sentence because, again, context is king. Context is king. When we asked Americans about America dropping the bomb, 41% it was unnecessary. That fact is more common, is more in numbers. Oku narimashita is more than yori. And then I'm adding the word the because they're treating 31% like it's a noun. The 31% who answered that it was necessary. Okay, this is fascinating. If you ask anyone who was trying to get into Japan, they would, like the Marines, they'll tell you the Japanese people were nuts. They were asking anybody what a bonsai charge is in Japan, and yeah, no. It's horrible. I've asked students that I teach like this year, last year, and the past few years, like 18 to 2020. Like I tutor Japanese students here in America who are going through the American education system. And I ask them like, hey, isn't that strange? You're like 18 right now. You're graduating from high school. Imagine if a war broke out and you had to kamikaze pilot yourself into an American warship. What do you think? And they've told me to my face they would do it. They said, yeah, no, my country needs me. Even though it's just some guy with a funny hat telling me to do it, the emperor, I'd have to do it because otherwise, like, it's so stereotypical. Shame upon my family was literally what they were saying. It brings shame upon my family. And so they would hurl their bodies at the age of 18 into an American ship or whatever. And I mean, that's 2020, guys. That's oh, sorry, it was actually 2019. Okay, like I've had numerous students say that to me, males and females. I mean, obviously the females wouldn't be doing it, but I mean no joke. The Japanese were crazy. I mean, maybe fanatical might be a better term. Maybe not crazy, but they're fanatical. And I'm not saying that we quote unquote should have dropped the bomb, but I'm saying that. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have dropped the bomb, but I can definitely see why a lot of people consider it a good idea. I actually don't know where I stand on this issue. We were sending Marines in there getting murdered, and if they're just going to kill us anyway, might as well just nuke a city and have them, shut the hell up and get it done with. I mean, it's a good argument on either side. I mean, it's really sad. Some of these movies, and I mean, obviously they're movies, but like, so it's interesting. A lot of movies lately are focusing on the Pacific Front, whereas in past they focus on the European front, and a lot of the new Pacific Front movies. I think that one TV show is called The Pacific, and it really shows you what it was probably like to be a Marine trying to get into Japan, and it was terrible. What was that one recently? It was pro-Chinese stuff. Had a Jonas brother in it. Anyway, that one shows you how crazy the Japanese were about killing everybody. What was it? It was Iwo Jima. No, it wasn't Iwo Jima. What was the one? It wasn't. Was it? Maybe it was Pearl Harbor. No, it was Midway. And you talk to the people too. It's what they said. Anyway, I'm rambling. It's interesting to see that opinions have shifted. Oh, I wanted to mention that probably. Let's think about these numbers real quick. This is NHK asking Americans probably who live in Japan. So you're an American who's like, I want to live in Japan, woo! And they move to Japan. And then, you like Japanese culture. And then a Japanese person is asking you if it was good that America dropped a bomb on you, the host country that you're in. I have a feeling that these numbers don't reflect reality. Kind of the same way that Trump won in 2016. Hey, are you going to vote for Trump? No, says the Trump supporter who's laughing hilariously inside of his own mind as he lies to the pollster. I have a feeling these numbers aren't as accurate. But then again, I mean, so I wonder, they should compare year after year. But then again, a lot of kids are learning crappy history nowadays. A lot of people don't understand how horrible war is because we have a voluntary military right now. Anyway, I'm rambling. Have yourselves a happy day. Peace out. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you like, subscribe, and share this video to everybody you know and yell at them repeatedly until they subscribe as well. If you would like to support me even more, head on over to patreon.com where for just $1 a month, 3 cents a day, that's it, it's darn near free, you can help me financially keep these videos coming. And as a reward for your Patreon donations, you get access to all of the miscellaneous things that I produce to help out my own students who I teach in person, and also just things that I make for myself. And if you want a little bit more bang for your buck, head on over to Teespring, where you can get lots of fun clothing, mugs, stickers, cell phone cases, all that I've designed. More designs to come. I hope you have yourself a happy dappy day. Peace out.